This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
Hello, one and all, broadcasting live from Southern Michigan. This, of course, is Bigfootmichiganrob, Beyond BMR with the lovely Krista from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze on YouTube. If not already, please subscribe to Bigfootmichiganrob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Paranormal Paul, Truth or Tinfoil. Thank you so much for that. Thanks to everybody for coming on in today. Don't forget, the super chat's open, everybody. Great way to help support what we all do around here. Thank you in advance for that. You too, everybody, can become BMR pirates. Our mateys. Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. Thank you. You get a picture of good old BMR. Yeah, sporting a bandana in your name in the chat room. And speaking of super chats, there's something out called the Super Thanks, and it's weird because you can donate if you like. Now, of course, not expected, always appreciated. Kelly Sandiford, I must tell you, she's great contributor to the show, and she gives me super thanks. I just got one the other day from her, but I cannot. YouTube does not let me thank her on YouTube, so I just give her the heart. So I did want to throw that out to Kelly. If you're listening, I'm sure you are. Thank you so much for that. And thanks, Josh Castro. He's been a BMR pirate for 14 months. Arr, Mr. Castro, you won't be walking the plank tonight, matey. Thank you for that, everybody. We got a great show. Ronald Murphy, who's going to be at our conference. That's right. He's in studio, bringing him up shortly. Before that, I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista. And 3, 2, 1. Hello, Krista.
Hey, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. That's what you always say. I'm used to that now. Yes, happy Tuesday to you. Beginning of the week. But, you know, always a great time to start the week with a great show.
Sure. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Ron's great. You know, he's a good friend.
Awesome.
And I look forward to it. Yeah.
I love Ron. He's a great guy. Very well versed in all these subjects. And speaking of all the subjects, our conference, UFOs, paranormal, cryptids. And, you know, we haven't done this in a while, Krista. It's a month out. In fact, today's the 19th. In a month.
We'll be watching. Yeah, we'll be watching speakers.
We'll be watching speakers, special guests, and you know we haven't done it in a while. Who are some of our speakers and special guests, Krista?
So we have. Let's just start here. Josh Hurd, and I'll kind of go over who everybody is. But sure. Josh Hurd is He's a very, very good friend of mine and Brandy's. He's been on Blondes and Booze several times. He also owns Malvern Manor, and he's just a great guy. If you haven't heard him speak, you will enjoy him. Professor Heather Mosier, most of us know her from Small Town Monsters. She's been on this show. She's been on Blondes and Booze multiple times. She's great. She's a good friend, and can't wait to see her again. Will Lunsford. Oh my God. Like, I'm just going to keep repeating, like, because, Will, how many times he been on our shows, both of our shows?
I know, quite a bit.
Same thing, Falk Monster, he's well versed in that. And I'll tell you what, he's got some great evidence. And he's got one of the best pictures of a Gugway that I've ever seen. So hopefully he will show that. If he doesn't, I will text him and ask him to make sure he has that, so everybody can see that picture, because it's awesome. And then we have Mr. Ron Murphy, surprise, our guest tonight.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. And he is well versed in just about everything, and as it says, the cryptid guru. So he can talk about anything, and I do believe he's going to talk about the Fae. And then Dr. Dean Bertram. I personally have never met Dr. Dean, so I don't know a whole lot about him. I've watched his shows, but I'm excited to meet him, and I know he is a wealth of information when it comes to the skies. And then we have Greg Ogles. Everybody knows Mr. Moist. That's just a given.
Mr. Moist. Yes.
Mr. Moist. I don't think he really even needs an introduction. Just, he's a filmmaker. He's a researcher. He's out in the woods all the time. And he's just been a good friend to all of us. Frankie and Dan from Haunted Souls Paranormal, they are teammates of Brandy and I, and they're bringing a couple haunted cars. So that's going to be cool. And they're actually been working on them. I think one's like I want to say it's like a 71 Nova or something. It's pretty gas. It really is. I've seen pictures of it. It's pretty cool looking. And then we have Brian Bowden. He'll be, once again, how many times has he been on our shows, Rob?
I know. It's funny. Most of the people that are at the conference, we've had at least twice on the show.
Right. That's what I'm saying. More than twice.
Yeah.
And so, Brian, I think he's going to talk more along the lines of like Dogman and that kind of thing, but he can also talk about just about anything. We have Miguel Ramirez from Sasquatch Theory. If you guys haven't watched Sasquatch Theory, you guys have to subscribe. He is a wonderful, wonderful researcher. Also, shout out to the Half Inch Wrench crew. They are in the chat right now, and they both just dropped a film today. And it's good. It's a good one, guys. So go watch both of them and subscribe to both of them. And Half Inch Wrench crew will also be coming to the conference and bring in their ambulance, which has been converted into their Bigfoot mobile. So that's going to be cool. Then we have, everybody pray for Martin Groves that he makes it. He's been sick. So he's on the list to come, and let's just pray for his health and that he can make it. But most of all, let's just pray for his health. And then special guest, we have Dana Stricker. We have Brent Thomas. We have Brian Edwards. We have Chris Garitano. We have Linda Eastburn, Dave Glidden, Danielle Stedman, our very own Donnie Cho, Dale Boswell. As I said, the Half Inch Wrench crew will be there. Harley Owens is coming. D.A. Wysong is coming. And I am so sorry if I have forgotten anything.
Yeah, that's a mouthful,
I know, right? Yeah. So it's going to be a good time. We're totally looking forward to seeing everybody. And honestly, I don't think we can get any better with the people that's coming.
I don't think we can, and I don't like to toot our own horn or brag, but nobody's doing what we've done. People have done similar things, but we're bringing everybody together.
Yep.
In all these realms, all these fields, cryptids, paranormal, aliens, UFOs, the Fae. We got to come together because like I believe, what you believe, and I'm sure Mr. Murphy believes, they're all connected in some way. So why have these separate deals when you can bring everybody together?
Absolutely.
To me, it's going to be more entertaining. It's going to be entertaining as all get out.
Yeah.
And we wanted to talk about that a little bit for the first, 8 minutes we did, because it's going to be here in a month. Get your tickets on Eventbrite. I've pinned the link here in this chat room for those.
Awesome.
Get your tickets. And also, vendors, $75 for a vendor spot. That's extremely cheap if you check around. Whatever you sell, it doesn't have to be paranormal related. If you're into arts and crafts, if you're a photographer, if you have a contracting company in Missouri, whatever, it don't matter. Come on down and show off your wares and promote yourself, because we're all about helping everybody out. And we also want to put back to the little town of Richmond to help spark their economy a little bit as well. So we're doing everything.
Yes, absolutely. And also, 2 more things. Thank you, Keith. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Keith.
We will be having the pre-party on that Thursday before, on September 18th. So if you guys are coming in chat, just send Brandy and I or Rob a message just to let us know, so we kind of get a heads up of how many are coming, which everybody, as long as a ticket holder or a vendor or a speaker or a special guest, you guys are absolutely welcome to come. And yes, Amy says, is Chris Jordan going to be streaming the conference? Yes, Chris Jordan will be streaming the conference, and that will be available after the conference. So it won't be live, I don't believe. So, but if you can't make it, you can buy a ticket through Chris Jordan, and he will be streaming. So
and that's pretty cool too, and that's really a great thing that he's doing that for us, because instead of us walking around with our phones and doing kind of crappy videos, the entire thing is to be. He's going to record the whole thing beginning to end, and then after the conference, after a week or so, it's going to be released. I don't know where that's going to be released just yet, of course, but and everybody will be able to go back and watch it. So
I think they'll have a certain amount of time to watch it right after. I talked to Chris last night. We did a pre-record show with him last night, and so but it will be available. So guys, like I said, the pre-party, we're just looking forward. We talked about it, and every conference has an after party, but we don't have time to do an after party, so we're doing the pre-party because like everybody in chat, you guys have become our friends and family, and so we just want to talk to you guys. And thanks, Brian. And meet you face to face, and kind of let our hair down and have a couple drinks. So, and listen to Tex sing karaoke. Rob, you're on mute.
How did I do that? I can't wait to meet all the people. Once again, every time I go to a conference, meet all the people that follow us. And it's just a great, great time. And we could talk for another 20 minutes and sell this.
Oh, heck yeah.
We're going to have to bring up, he's been backstage 13 minutes now. One of our featured speakers, good friend of mine, met Ron via Dave Scott several years ago, about his 3rd or 4th time on this show, at least, Mr. Ron Murphy.
And I met Ron at the Dogman conference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very, very honored to be here, like always. And I was listening to what you folks were saying. And Brian and I were on a show about 2 weeks ago, and we basically reiterated everything that you're talking about. Yeah. We've been to the so-called para-unity conferences before, but it always seems that their idea of unity is far different than what your idea of unity is, right? So at this conference that we're going to be attending, it's going to be Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, the Fae, all that kind of stuff. And of course, like you said there, Rob, you said about, I believe that all this stuff is interconnected. Now, absolutely, I do. And I think by looking at the overall picture, you get a much more focused sense of what the reality of the paranormal happens to be. Yeah, but absolutely. Whenever you are talking about para-unity, it's usually a bunch of guys getting together with their ghost friends, right? Or, their Bigfoot friends, but they always exclude other people, other interests. This is one of those forums in which we can all get together and we can talk. This is how we learn, and this is how we connect with one another. Great networking, But like I said, being on the circuit for a number of years now, I have to say that I'm so excited about this because, in my opinion, this is the way we are supposed to interact in the paranormal community. Instead of taking sides, we need to have an open dialogue. And like I said, I don't know how you were able to put this all together. I wouldn't be able to take it. There's no way that I could do this. So you guys are awesome.
Well, Krista, Krista, she spearheaded this. I have to give her a lot of credit. And Brandy, they've been, Krista and Brandy have been putting together conferences really for a long time, as well as Monica Rollins.
Monica too.
Which reminds me, Rags you just brought it down. Rags, thanks Rags for your awesome $10 donation. September 19th is, how I am BMR, mateys, become a pirate. Well, September 19th is National Pirate Day. So yet another thing that I've got to come up with to celebrate the pirate, the BMR pirate, to all my pirates out there. Yeah, that's how weird is that? So that's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, Ron, I love what you just said, because bringing everybody together is from every genre. And, a lot of times I feel a lot of people don't talk about that. They're just set in their ways. And it's unbelievable to me, Ron, how some people can believe one way, but not another when it comes to this phenomenon, because to me, they're related, as you mentioned, right?
That's right. Yeah. And that's doing a disservice, not only to the community, but to themselves as well, too. It's kind of like covering up your ears and saying, I don't want to hear this, because they already made their minds up about a subject that's so obscure and so abstract that nobody can rightfully call themselves an expert in that. And the only way we're going to learn is have this diplomacy going on. If you don't agree with what I have to say, bring it up. We could have this talk, and I can learn from you as well. This is the only way it's going to be. But most conferences are, you get pats on the back, right? That's what it is. People are going through the motions. We talked about this before we came on air. A lot of these folks that you see, the so-called paracelebs, you can lip sync to their presentations because they just do it over and over again.
Absolutely.
And another thing that I'm excited about too is this is also giving the stage for those people who have not yet made it to the big time yet, right? This is also going to allow people who are just starting to develop in this world of the paranormal to come up and talk about their ideas as well, which is these ideas are just as important as any seasoned veteran's ideas as well.
I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah, to me, Ron, is great, because whether you're a 20-year veteran in the field or 20 weeks.
Yep.
Hey, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So honestly, we have had people ask us about doing another one, and it's not off the tables.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
So I think the first conference that I did, the first professional conference I did, was about 2015 or something like that. So we're going back, a decade, and my observations and my opinions have changed drastically, right? It's always fluid. Everything I learn will help me develop other theories and other outlooks. And so there is a bit of stagnation to the world of the paranormal, but at least this kind of event that we're putting on with Crossing Realms, that actually stirs the water a bit, and that's an important thing. Like I said, I'm also a fan of this, right? So whenever I go to a conference, I like to listen to other people speak as well too. Brian's an incredible speaker. Heather Moser is an incredible speaker, one of my favorite people. And I'm going to learn from these folks as well. We're all going to be coming together under a sense of camaraderie, and there's not going to be any drama like there usually is with these conferences, right? We're going to be going there, and everybody's going to be welcomed, and I'm excited. I'm just simply excited for it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, because we've talked about it, if anybody has issues with anybody, leave it out the door. Let's all just come on, be friends. We're all here for the same reason. We all want to learn. We all want to do more. And, let's just be friends and come together for one day.
Yep.
Exactly.
And what I love most, and speaking about, unity and speaking about all the different genres, Ronald Murphy is an author. He's written many books, and I could not put all of these in this frame, Ron. And I always think I'm going to play a little fun game. I'm going to post 10 of your books right now. Okay. Now I can't read that top one on the far left with the angel with the wings and the blue eyes. That's your latest, is it not? Westland. What does that say?
That's the Haunted History of Westmoreland County, Volume 2.
Okay. And then the book I'm going to read left to right. Then Ronald Murphy Jr. on fairies.
That's right.
The third one, the Chestnut Ridge.
Yes.
And of course, one of my favorite topics we just did last week, vampires. Now I cannot read that one for the life of me, Ron. What's this one to the right? You're probably familiar with it. It looks like a sea serpent of some sort.
That is. So it's called the On Aquatic Monsters of the Great Lakes.
Oh, right up my alley. I have to buy that one for sure. And then lower left.
Actually, it was in Michigan that I came up with the idea. I was up in Sault Ste. Marie to do a conference, and I spoke to so many of the indigenous population up there, and they were telling me these great stories of these sea monsters, these lake monsters. Okay. So I thought, you know what? There's never been a book written that has done justice, I didn't believe, on the Great Lakes. So I put this together. It's one of my favorite books that I researched, one of the favorite books that I had written. And actually, Lauren Coleman named it as one of the best books of that particular year. So I'm very, very pleased.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Ron. We'll finish out the books, and you can talk. We'll go wherever you want. The next one is on Dogman. You did a book on Gettysburg. And now everybody knows about the hauntings of Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. Ron, one of my personal favorite topics, giants, and another one, mermaids, and of course, the tormented. Well, and I guess that's self-explanatory. I do think a little bit there, but yeah, man, so there's 10. I think you've written 12. I couldn't get them all up there, but Ron, that's why your go-to for me for information. Mm-hmm. So why don't we do this? Let's have a little fun. I just posted 10 books. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about one of them and how you got there and what your thoughts are on it for everybody.
Right. Well, I can talk about Gettysburg
You can talk about Gettysburg really quick. Yeah, well, it's up Chris's alley. Mine as well.
Yeah. So, I love ghosts. I love haunted locations. And I love the history behind it because ghosts aren't separated from history, right? They're part of it. I mean, they're a bookmark to historical events. So I took my family to Gettysburg, and I was really overwhelmed on how expensive that Gettysburg can be. And if you're not careful, you can fall into that tourist trap as well. So, I have 5 kids, so I have to be very, very careful. So I thought that I would write a book so a family could visit Gettysburg, see all the sites, get all the history, and spend as little money as possible, right? Because the majority of Gettysburg is free. They get you whenever they want you to go into a building. So what I do is I provide the history of the buildings, like the Jenny Wade House and the orphanage and such. And then if you still want to go in, you can go in on your own discretion, but at least you have the history and you can say, I've been there, and you can see the outside. And you've got to keep in mind too, you can still do your ghost hunts because ghosts aren't just confined to these walls, right? They're also seen out spilling over onto the streets as well too. So I wanted to give everybody an access to Gettysburg and not have to break the bank or take out a loan.
Oh, something happened to my side of the computer. I couldn't hear that last part. I'm talking about getting a loan. I'm sorry. And Chris is gone too.
Yeah, I see that. I know something mysterious happened. No, I just want to make it as affordable as humanly possible.
Okay. No, absolutely, which is great. And of course, affordability in today's day and age is the key. A lot of these people, wherever you go, it doesn't have to be conferences, Ron. Anything in general, prices are going up, and to make these things affordable, which you alluded to, is fantastic. So what was it that struck you most about the Gettysburg, the research you put into that? Because I think is that probably one of the most haunted locations in the United States.
Well, I think, arguably it might be the most haunted location in the world, on some lists. But, it's a great place. because it's full of history and it's really well preserved as well. But there are some things that are a little hokey as well, and I point those out in my book. My book is too. I just know that when we went there for the first time, completely unprepared, we ended up spending about $200 for a downtown hotel, and it had cockroaches, and that's one of those things.
Oh my gosh.
It was not great. So what I urge everybody to do is, plan ahead, do your homework, and I try to, like I said, I try to give you at least some sort of framework to follow. And I'm going to do this on a number of different sites. I want to do this on Salem as well, too. Salem in Boston. I want to do this on Colonial Williamsburg, Savannah, Georgia. And I want to be able to allow people to go to those places as well and not have to break the bank.
Mm-hmm. What about the, and you might have talked to, I'm sorry, I jumped out because I was annoying myself looking at myself. I was blurred with the.
It's funny. Well, when you did that, I saw audio, and I'm like, what happened here?
I just took myself out. That's it.
Yeah, but I lost audio for about 8 seconds and missed it. But we got it back together. We got it back together. No big deal.
Yeah, so I apologize for doing that.
Live TV.
Right. Yes. Quick question though, Ron. I've heard a lot about. So Gettysburg is on my bucket list. I really want to go there.
Oh, you haven't been?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
and so it's definitely on my bucket list. But can you talk about the orphanage that's there, and because I've heard that it's like there's actually a negative woman that like run it. She was not nice to children, and
Right. And that's basically the whole gist of it. After the war, you had a lot of families that were torn apart, and you had a lot of children that had no place to live anymore. Their fathers were killed, or both of the parents were killed, or what have you, or at least the women would have to have gotten away. But whatever the case may be, in the vacuum of war, after everything is done, you always have broken families. And, there were children in Gettysburg that needed a place. So there was an orphanage there, and they hired a headmistress whose name I forget right now. But she was a horrible person, right?
Yes.
It's claimed that in the orphanage, she even dug a pit where she would throw the children into this kind of forgetful hole and forget about them for a while. So she tortured them. She was, abusive, and just a lot of trauma to the whole thing. Now, she was eventually removed from that, but the damage was already done. But as it goes, is that lingering energy still haunts that building because she so imprinted that area with this negative energy that it's just part of the environment now.
Yeah. So can you ghost hunt, like, is it just tours you can take through there, or can you like rent the buildings out, or how does that work?
Well, you can't rent the buildings out, but you can wander the streets 24 hours a day. I mean, so there's nothing stopping you from taking your own equipment and going to the battlefield and going to outside of the Jenny Wade House, or right outside of the orphanage, or any of these great places, And so, yeah, I urge people, that's the way you're going to do it. You're going to, if you take a tour there, now I will tell you, there's a couple tours there that are fantastic, but there are other tours there that I call Mick tours, like a McDonald's. It's owned by a conglomerate. It's absentee landlords. Nobody really knows the true history of that place. It's just something that was Googled and it was ghost written, and it doesn't have any kind of flavor about the area. But if you do your own research, you'll be able to regurgitate as much as any of the tours there, right? You're going to be able to do it. So, like I said, I provide a historical framework of everything you need to know and what happened in the general areas, like, the Devil's Den area and Little Round Top and all that kind of stuff. And then you have a framework by which to now negotiate your ghost hunt.
Okay. So how far are you away from Gettysburg? Because you're in Pennsylvania, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm about 3 hours. Yeah, Pennsylvania's a huge state, so I'm about 3 hours away.
Yeah, Paranormal Paul saying I think we need to make a road trip there. I agree. And maybe that's something we can plan next year and maybe meet up with you there and,
I think that would be great. I know that they just opened an area there for camping that is supposed to be on an actual battle site that took place
Cool.
at Gettysburg. So yeah, I'm all for that. I say that we make this happen, and we could even do a live right from the location.
That would be fantastic. Come on, Rob.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm down for Gettysburg. You know what I'm also down for is cemeteries. And what can you tell me, Ron, about this? We have so many different things to cover in 90 minutes, but it's kind of when we talk about things being related. I know from people that cemeteries and hauntings and ghosts, they always attract, it seems, Dogman.
Mhm.
Now, are you familiar with that, Ron? Is that ring a bell with you? What do you think?
I wrote about it in my book as well.
What do you think that connection is?
So I look at a historical context, right? So we know that the Egyptians deified a jackal-headed person in the form of Anubis, who was the patron saint of funerary, observations and rituals. So going back to Egypt, we have this connection with a dog man, a literal dog man, because the priest would even put on this mask that so they would resemble a dog. And we know from Native American Indian sites across the United States, not just one place, but across the United States, we often see dogman associated with these places. So is it part of, I guess, our collective unconscious that we remember that, that there was spirits attached to these areas, some sort of protective spirit? Now, it's been suggested by archaeologists and sociologists that in Egypt it began that, your dead would be buried, and in that kind of a location, they would be easy to dig up as well. So you would have, jackals coming down, digging up your ancestors and eating them, right? So it might make better sense psychologically to kind of mythologize this event into this divine being coming and taking your family's soul to the other world, right? That's one way to look at it. But it also seems to be rather curious and uncanny in the fact that this is also part of the Native American cultures, especially around mounds, around burial mounds. And these creatures are seen digging into mounds. Now, they're not looking for a body because some of these mounds are 1,000 years old. So what are they? We know that in England during the Middle Ages, they had something called a church grim, which was a spirit of a dog that was put there. I mean, this was implanted by people to be the guardian of a graveyard against demons, against evil presence and things like that. So basically you unleash a ghost dog onto the environment that will protect those that are buried within that cemetery. Is that something that happened? I mean, is that something that's so universal that we have used dogs as protection throughout our lives or throughout our history to the point that we now associate them with burials? I don't know. It's really hard to make any sense of this because, like I said, I'm looking at different cultures. I'm looking at different time periods. It's there. All these clues are there, but the why is not. So they're either a tutelary spirit that's caring for the dead, or it's a remembrance of whenever these dogs came down to feast on newly deceased people. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
I think it's very interesting that you bring this up and talk about the flip side of the dog man. Excuse me, dogman protected chiefs burial mounds in the United States. Rags, thanks, Rags. Because, and I think that's pretty cool, right? I mean, if you look, I think it's we're talking dogman about protecting the souls at the cemeteries, But then half of the time, we always find the flip side of the coin, Ron, is whether it's a cemetery or not, or just a dogman flanking you while you're out in the woods, and it brings on that fear of dread that a person gets, right? Where they're like, oh boy. And then they see those red eyes, in some instances, of course, not all, and they see this bipedal wolf 7 feet tall staring them down. And it gives them that vibe that they can get you at any time. So it's kind of a flip side of the coin, right? One suggested to be inherently evil, well, one though is protector of those that have passed on. So how do you kind of balance that in your research?
Well, I think you can balance it by how reverent you show for the dead, especially how reverent you are for people that you have obliterated out of history, especially the Native Americans and the First Nation people.
Okay.
I can very much understand that. You know, it was said that that the Mothman came about by Chief Cornstalk putting a curse on the land due to colonialization, right? Due to the atrocities committed by settlers. Maybe this is a curse that's left on the land to basically, no trespassing, or if you would not be respectful and you go into that place with either unknowingly or in some sort of destructive way, that there is a price to pay for that, right? That's one way to look at it. But I do remember one burial mound in Kentucky, and very close to the land between the lakes. Mm-hmm. So this was excavated probably 30 years ago, I guess. And in that mound, they found human remains that were wrapped in fur, and their faces were let's say adjusted. Teeth were removed, part of the jaw was removed and such, in order to take a wolf snout and put it over the dead person. So whenever they excavated this particular site, they called it the werewolf burial because they had no other name to put on it. So they uncovered a Native American man who was covered in fur and had a dog snout, a wolf snout, protruding from his own face. So as an anthropologist and somebody who looks at archaeology, why did they do this? So there's a couple reasons. One type of magic, that's used when magic falls under this whole anthropological point of view. One type of magic is sympathetic magic, which means that you are trying to apply this magic that is part of the world around you and use it as a protection, as a talisman, something along those lines. Now, the other kind of magic, and this is where it gets a little bit more frightening, is imitative magic, where these folks that did this particular burial was imitating something that they were aware of that was out there in the environment. But either way, there was knowledge by this particular people that there was the ability for a man to take on the shape of a wolf, and for what end, it's still up to debate.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay,
go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead. I got a thought. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick. Thanks, Half Inch Wrench Crew. Appreciate that.
Thank you, buddy.
So I do have a question, though. So out at the place that we go to, Emmaus Asylum, there is, a little bit of everything. Well, a lot of everything going on there. And there's a cemetery, an old cemetery there that the graves are only like 2 feet down, which I find interesting. And then when we were there in May camping out, some of the graves, or one of the graves, was dug up, but not by a shovel. And I find that interesting.
Well,
I just kind of want to get your thoughts.
You think something like Yeah, right.
We don't know.
Well,
Like
we do know that there are these. Yeah, as long as it wasn't dug from the outside or from the inside out,
right,
that would be a little bit more scary. But
right.
we do know that there are these graves around the United States, also in Europe too. You can find them that have these cages over them. I'm sure that you're aware of these gated cages. And a lot of people, in my vampire book, I included them because a lot of people assume that it was to keep the deceased inside there.
Yeah.
But it's very possible they use it to keep something out.
Sure. And that's, I don't know. It was just kind of weird, that that was like that, just because there is cryptid activity out there. Actually this past Saturday we got howls again, so.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of weirdness out there. So, and I guess it all goes back to all of it's intertwined, but I just thought it was cool on the topic of cemeteries.
I think that's cool, Kristen. Really briefly, Rag says some native legends say shamans created dogmen from their best warriors and wolves melded together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like that as well too. Yeah, and a lot of things that we talk about, we don't think about the perspective that our ancestors had before us, and shamanism was a very important role in early human society. The idea that they were the conduit between this world and the next world was very important because if you had any problems, you could, appeal to the spirits that existed beyond our realm of being. And I do like that. And you see something similar to that in Viking culture as well, too. So the idea of making your best warriors having the attributes of an animal, especially like a wolf, bravery, and oftentimes in Native American folklore, wolves also represent the family as well, too, because they travel in packs. So, as frightening as wolves would have been in, a society before, electricity and before guns and all that kind of stuff, as terrifying as they would be, that howl at the night and everything, we also have to think how they operate. They work in family units. They take care of their own if one of them gets injured. And we are human, possibly because we observed how the wolf operates and we mimicked their behavior in order to become what we are today, this kind of community. Because really the first community that people would have seen before we were, putting up stone walls and such would have been these wolf communities that were working together. And I think that we only see them as frightening, almost see them as a little Red Riding Hood. But there's a flip side to the wolf that's also very protective and endearing as well, and very intelligent.
Yeah.
I got to meld something together, what Krista brought up and what you brought up, Ron. We were just talking about here. It was about this person sent me this encounter that they had a while back and mentioned about how he was infatuated with cemeteries, right? And ghosts. So him and a buddy went to a cemetery, and the same one they've been going to for weeks on end, months on end, and it turned into years. And they got disenchanted with the whole paranormal. They never got any spirit activity or anything. Finally, one time, and his friend and himself were out there, and they seen all of a sudden there's a cemetery, and coming from the wood line, they seen like what they presumed to be spirits. And as these spirits got closer to some of the headstones in the forest, he could see that they were not spirits of human beings from the past, but he said they were wolves.
Yeah.
And they were rummaging around the headstones, transparent, not physical, but rummaging around like they were digging at it. And they kind of got a little bit creeped out, but they were mesmerized, and they were there for several minutes just watching in. And then all of a sudden they got chills. They got the chills ran down their bones and their skin. And then they got this feeling that they should not have been there any longer. So they left. A couple days go by, and the one friend calls his buddy and says, "Hey, man, you remember that experience we had at the cemetery? And he says, yes. He goes, I had to tell you about a weird dream I had. I've been dreaming about that night with these dog-like creatures, wolf-like creatures. And in my dreams, it was kind of very terrifying to me because it was played out in my mind that we were on sacred land and we should not have been there, and we were disturbing the ground. And the buddy got really quiet, listening to his friend. He says, I've been having the same dreams too. So going back to what we're talking about, that was really a protector telling these guys, sending them the message, hey, you know what? You shouldn't be here. And I found that to be intriguing. It kind of ties in a little bit what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it ties in remarkably well into what we're talking about here. People have from the very beginning have used dogs as protection. As this is my territory, and the dog will defend that territory. And cemeteries and burial plots are sacred places. That's where you inter your loved one into the very womb of the earth. And so many people go in there. I know in my neck of the woods here in Pennsylvania, this was home to an Andina culture. This was home to mound builder cultures. And right now in Western Pennsylvania, we have half of one mound still intact. And so people would bulldoze them over, right? I've interviewed people whose grandparents told them stories that whenever the grandparents were little kids, they would go out whenever they were plowing up the fields, and it would just turn over, skeletons. These are sacred places that were set aside. These were the liminal zones for the native peoples here. It was seen as a place, of honor. It was seen as a place of privilege. And it's the same way as if we would go into a cemetery now and just start tearing it up with a bulldozer, right? We would look and see that would be completely irreverent and also vulgar in a way. So I think that, my friend, is what's going on with these sightings of these dogman creatures in these particular areas, whether it's a vibrational remembrance of the way that it was, or whether it's some sort of frequency that's still put out there into the environment to have some sort of protection to that particular place that is all but forgotten, right? It's still remembered only in the folklore and the mythology of a tribal people that is just hanging on to existence, right? So these dogmen are kind of a way of saying, not only are these places going to remain here for a little bit longer, but I'm going to make it relevant as well, too.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Ron. So Land Between the Lakes,
Yes.
There is a cemetery there that supposedly a dogman has came out of the grave. I've been to that cemetery several times, and I just, the demonic is out there. They're true, but they are far and few between. I believe most hauntings are, might have a nasty spirit or something, but not a true demonic entity. However, at this particular cemetery, it's the only place out there I felt this. I believe there, honest to God, is a true demonic entity in that cemetery. So I guess my question is, do you think that maybe maybe like a demonic entity portrayed itself as something like a dog man? You know what I'm getting at here? Like,
oh yeah, I certainly do. Right. It's the perfect cover, isn't it? The idea of a bipedal dog. And look, in the Bible, the Satan is often referred to as a prowling wolf, right? And the reason why we need a good shepherd is because he keeps his flock safe from the predatory wolf. And sure, if there is enough energy out there, right, that an evil entity wants to attach itself to and use that as a guise by which to interact with the world around it, there is really far few other things that are as terrifying as a dog man. And that may be what's going on here.
Right. That's what I, was kind of thinking. And I tell people I've been to that cemetery only a couple of times. I have no desire to go back. And I tell them, I have no desire to go back to this one because it's definitely something nasty out there. And I'm not one that wants to go out and play with that kind of stuff. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I have a comment on that. Then I want to ask you something else, Ron. Yeah, I was with Chris at one of the many cemeteries, And I must tell you, I don't get all that creeped out in the woods, but I got to tell you, and maybe it was part of my excitement because she goes, "Hey, we're gonna take a detour through the LBL." I said, "We are." She goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So we're going through, we're driving, I'm looking, I seen some familiar things from videos and such, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, it was maybe 3 in the afternoon, and then all these trees kind of formed, like covered, like blocked out the sun, so it was kind of creepy, dark, kind of. You could still see, but it was not light, right? So we step out of the vehicle, walk around, and Krista goes, "Oh, by the way, you're walking on dead bodies. Just wanted to tell you." I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Krista."
Well, they're not all marked on that hill.
Yeah, and they're not all, and there's all these unmarked graves, Ron. And I must tell you, I got this, and I don't know if I was excited or what I know about BLBL, but I must tell you, I felt that it was different energy there, man. I mean, compared to any place I've ever been. And it wasn't negative, but it was just very different. That's about the best way I could describe it. And,
Right.
and all the stories that we hear about these places, there's something to do with this energy out in these places.
Right. So I have a theory, and I'll talk to you folks as well too. What you think about this? So around the world, there are certain places that seem to hold unusual amounts of energy. Whether it's you think about ley lines or what have you, but it's a place where the paranormal seems to reside. Okay, whether it's in China or places in Africa and Australia and throughout the United States. But what I find curious about this, even here in my own state of Pennsylvania, the land between the lakes is a great example. Is it possible that the reason why that area was flooded over is because there was something there that was known about for a very, very long time? And we see in Egypt, there's places, along the Nile where they built extensive, dams, and all these, architecture and all this, basically pieces of a civilization has been swept away or buried completely by the water. So oftentimes as a researcher, I look to find out why these areas were flooded over. And a lot of it seems to be, flood control or whatever. But sometimes you have to go to great extremes to get these areas flooded over. So is there something in the land between the lakes where they attempted to eradicate it from the face of the earth by flooding it over?
That's a good question. And, people have talked about that possibly, very, very could be, people say there's, tunnels underground there, and, you see the Black Hawk helicopters flying over there, and, just all kinds of craziness there. It really is. We heard some loud explosions in the middle of the night going on out there. So I don't know.
So do you think there's trapped souls still on planet Earth from the Great Flood?
Wow. So you're talking about the Genesis
You're talking about
flood.
Noah.
The Genesis flood, yeah.
Wow.
Going back to the days of the Nephilim.
Yeah. Oh, boy, that's a hard one. Another, well, it's not so much a theory, but one of the things that I'm trying to work out as well, too, is do ghosts have a half-life? Like how long does the spirit continue? Because people every now and then do report seeing the ghosts of Roman soldiers or whatever going back nearly 2,000 years. But does this energy that reside only have a certain amount of time until it can no longer be physical? Whenever we talk about carbon dating things, and we talk about the idea of certain types of radioactive material having a half-life, is it possible that we don't see ghosts of cavemen out there simply because there's a duration for which this earthbound energy can stay here?
Sure. Yeah.
I I got to change this a little bit up because there's something I've never asked you before, and you've written one of your books. By the way, Ron Murphy's link to all of his books is posted in this YouTube video, live stream, whatever you want to call it. And I do want to ask you something, Ron, but before I do, I really quickly want to thank a few people before we get rolling here. Josh Castro has been a pirate for 14 months. Thank you, Josh. Mitty. Keith, Brian Bowden, Rags, Christina Gomez, the Half Inch Crew, Two Shadows. Thanks for your awesome super chats. Appreciate you guys. Not expected, but always appreciated. I love you for that. Love everybody for coming in. Hit that like button, so on and so forth. Appreciate everybody, and not just the people in chat, but the people that are listening. There's really quick. We got 83 people in chat. We've got 317 people listening around the world somewhere. Thank you to you, 300. Appreciate that.
Be great if all
Ridge
300 would hit the thumbs up.
Hit that thumbs up, everybody. Thank you. Is it Chestnut Ridge in Western Pennsylvania?
It is, yes, sir.
You talk about that. You've written about it in books, and I always hear about it. And this has got everything from cryptids to the supernatural UFO activity. What is it about Chestnut Ridge? Because I want to look into that a little more in depth because I always seem to hear it. You bring it up again. You've written a book. What is it about that place that brings you to it?
Well, it's part of the Appalachian Plateau. So when we talk about Appalachia, it's just one of those things. It's crazy, It's a very ancient mountain range. At one time, it was bigger than the Himalayas. We're talking about a vast mountain range, and parts of it still has continuation over into Europe as well, too. Parts of Scotland still have remnants of the Appalachian Mountains there as well. So we're talking about something that's very, very old, fundamentally old. It basically has been here since the Earth has been here. I mean, that seems a little bit melodramatic, but that's very, very true. So I talk about ley lines. Is it possible that this is an energy, port, a strong point where this energy just kind of spills up? It's possible, right? Maybe that's what draws UFOs to this area. There's a lot of history in this area. This is where the French and Indian War was fought. This is where George Washington proved that he was capable of leading a nation. So there's been a lot of bloodshed in this area as well, too. Reports of Bigfoot dating back into the 1800s. Now dogman creatures within the last 30 years are being reported around here as well, too. But I have an inkling that dogman was probably reported far earlier than that. We just didn't have the language to discuss it.
Yep.
And we talk about a flooded area. Chestnut Ridge also has a flooded area called Livermore that I actually was part of the investigation led by Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, that we went to this area that was the site of some high strangeness. And we got some rather interesting findings back that were, proven by their instruments. That there was something indeed going on down there. And like I said, this is an area that has been flooded over since 1955.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. I know you were on the Small Town Monsters one, the Chestnut Ridge, weren't you?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. And so we were there and we started to see orbs of light. And it went from a Bigfoot investigation to basically interacting with what seems to be sentient energies. And it was, and also the Livermore area that I was talking about, the place that's flooded over. We also did some filming down there for a movie that was produced by Small Town Monsters called UAPs of the Forest, which somebody, if anybody wants to see it, it's on YouTube and it's free to watch. But yeah, a lot of good documentation about some very strange things going on. And this is a rarity in the paranormal field because things were actually captured. So you can now sit down and watch for yourself the evidence that we were able to gather and come to a conclusion. What do you think is going on out there?
Wow. Pretty incredible place, honestly.
It is, and I would love to take you guys there as well too. Actually, it's a beautiful area with a long storied history, but also just rife with paranormal activity.
Yeah, yep, love it.
What have you come across? And you do your research. You're an author, and you're very knowledgeable. And you're in the field. What can you talk about? Have you yourself personally seen any cryptids, or think you might have seen a cryptid throughout your years doing all this, Ron?
Well, I will tell you my story, and then we'll discuss it. So, the first time I ever had a close encounter with an earthlight, which is basically this glowing orb, was on a research mission for a dogman. Right, there was reports of this werewolf type creature in this area, the Livermore area, the place it's flooded over. So a buddy and I went down late in the evening, and we decided to see if we could come up with anything. We took our camcorder with us. It was already in the fall, so it was getting, you can see your breath at night and everything. So it was getting cold. But strange things start happening, right? So our equipment starts draining of batteries almost instantaneously. And we thought, this is a little strange. It was also, rather jarring as well, too. And then around us in the actual environment itself, we see what looks like static electricity. It looks like, you pull a blanket off of your bed in the wintertime. So the static electricity starts kind of just like illuminating around us. So we knew that this is not good, right? Never happened to us before, had no idea what was going on. But whenever static electricity starts showing up, I think it's time to get out there. Something is being charged, right? So we turn to leave because the reason why I like to investigate this place so much is there's only one way in and one way out, and that's the same way. So we know that if we're down there, there's nobody else down there with us. It's that secluded. So we turn to leave, and on the trail that leads us back to our car, some mile and a half away, this light just emanates. It just kind of comes on, and then it sprinkles down like a sparkler and just vanishes. Right? No noise, nothing like that. Just a light out in the middle of the woods, comes on, fades off. But we're scared, right? Because we have to go that direction. So we start heading back that way, slowly. We're grown men. We're still scared. Something is impacting that primordial place in all of us humans, that flight or fight response that we thought that we would never use again, right? It's almost as if you're being stalked by a predator, right? And we get to the site where the light came on, and now we hear something in the woods over there to our right side. Something snarling, right? Something moving. You can hear it moving. You can hear it taking in breath. This is a large creature that we don't think was there when we went in there, but was there after the light came on. Whether it used it as a portal, whether that was a portal opening and closing, or whether the light itself manifested itself into another entity. We're not sure. But both me and my researching partner, we knew that it was a dogman, right? So we went down there looking for a dogman. So of course, psychologically, we would be expecting that would be there. But it was as if an impression was fed into our brain about what this was, as if the creature itself was identifying itself psychically to us, right? Right. So we start walking, and as we go, this creature starts following us as well too. Remember, it's pitch black, and we feel these tree branches hitting into all of us, and we thought, oh my, so we take our bearings quickly, and we figure out that we've left the road, we've left the path, and we are now in the woods where that creature is, right? Because it's so dark, and we were trying to rush out there so quickly that we now left the safety of the trail and now we're in its domain, and we're expecting to be like pounced upon any moment. So as we start looking around, I hear my name called very quickly, just Ron. And that has never happened to me. This is the first time that's ever happened to me on any investigation. And the sound came from a cemetery of all places that sat up on top of the hill, right? So the cemetery was off to the left. My name is called. So now we can orientate ourselves towards that voice. And as we did, that's what brought us back onto the trail again. And as we made our way up along that trail, this creature followed us the entire way. And whenever we started to breach the hill to where our car was parked, it gave this kind of, you don't want to use the word demonic, but it gave this snarl that was terrifying. And then we never saw it. It never came out at us. But if I believe that in that particular instance, we were in the presence of a dog man, even though I did not see it.
Gotcha. That's interesting because I don't know. There's some weird stuff out there. That's all I'm saying. Text says, "Welcome to my world, Ron."
Yes. But no, that is true. I mean, and if you would tell people outside of this kind of forum, they're going to think that you're crazy, all this kind of stuff. But I'm glad it's here because these kind of programs form a very cathartic experience, right? I'm able to talk about this stuff and kind of get this off of my chest because it's one of those things that can traumatize you, right? I still have trauma about that. I still get scared whenever I go out in the woods and thinking something like that would happen again.
Yeah, absolutely.
When something like that happens once, you always wonder if it's going to happen again. And you could go on for 5, 10, 20 years and nothing, but it's always in the back of your mind when something traumatizing happens.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who you are, right?
You're right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to reiterate. Yeah, it was traumatizing, and there's really nothing. There's nothing that anybody can say that was in your mind because it was indeed in my mind, right? But my researching partner and myself had the exact same images in our mind. So whatever it was a shared experience by something that was at least had some sort of semblance of being flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is kind of a little bit of switching gears, but you were talking about, like the orbs and dog, different things out there and going out, whether you go out to the woods or you go to a haunted house. And we were talking about this actually the other night at our investigation we were doing. How do you feel about people like manifesting, these creatures? They're out there. They're in a haunted house. And they want to see a ghost so bad, so they manifest a ghost, or they're out in the middle of the woods and they want a Bigfoot encounter in it. What are your thoughts on that? Just because, I believe it's possible because I believe, something, you can manifest all kinds of things. Why couldn't you manifest something scary too?
Well, whenever I was down at that particular location and my our equipment's energy was being drained. I do believe that human energy can be drained as well too, right? So if you're in a particular place and if there's something out there, it can actually draw energy from you in order to make itself appear physical, right? Now, this is a slippery slope because I know I don't want to talk about tulpas because that's really not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I also believe that if you have an experience, whether you see it as beneficial or not, I think that every experience is almost as a gift, that what you're experiencing requires you to have input into that experience, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. It's almost like a circuit that I have to flip a switch and it has to flip a switch in order for that circuit to connect. So I think that everybody that experiences something is part of it, whether it's agreed upon or not, right? That you are part of the creation of that experience. And that being said, I think there are people out there that are more attuned to this. I call them, walking paranormal Wi-Fi hotspots, that they are just an energy
I like
that
that.
actually things can feed off of and get a good signal when appear.
Yeah, awesome. We have company.
Yeah, we do. We've got a little birdie whispered in my ear earlier that one of her buddies was coming on. She just wanted to pop in and say hi. I don't know if you can see her, but I'm going to bring her up right now.
Speaking of manifesting.
Oh my goodness. Perfect. We were just talking about why we wish you were there, Ann. We wish you were there. We were talking before you came on. My fairy talk that I'm going to be giving, Ann and I had worked on something that was collaborative. It would have been absolutely beautiful. But thank you for being here with us now.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was so excited that you were on tonight. I was just on with Paul right before. So, yeah, I wanted to pop in.
Thank you for popping in, man. Hang out with us for a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I wish I would have known this. I would have had her come on with me. I so enjoyed doing so I met her. It's just been a few years. I mean, it's not that long. I met her first in good old Paris, Tennessee. No, Paris, Tennessee, at the Dogman conference, right? And we just kind of hit it off. Our theories and our outlooks are so aligned that it's kind of scary almost. But I respect her as a human being and as a researcher, and I can't wait to do more with her.
Oh, yeah. No, I absolutely love working with Ron. It was amazing when we presented at the Dogman conference. And I can't wait to present more and do more podcasts together as well. I've been listening in and I love everything that I've been hearing. It's definitely right up our alley and gave me memories back from the conference that we did. And so,
Absolutely. It was a perfect segue to talking about manifestations when you just brought that up, and all of a sudden, boom.
Well, I'm always trying to manifest,
That's awesome. I'm glad you joined us though tonight. I watched a little bit there on Paul's too, so you're always great.
Oh, thank you. And I totally agree with everything about the manifestation, what you were saying, Ron, because I've seen that in my own life so many times, and I really believe that we are co-creators in regards to all the experiences that we have. So,
and also, I just want to say, you and Ken kick some butt though doing the America's Couple. I mean, there's a lot of people on there for you guys to keep placing. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Really impressive.
And I voted every damn day for you too.
Oh, you could vote more than once?
Yeah, every day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's all your fault now, Rob.
Oh, no.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It means so much.
Yes,
it couldn't happen to better people. Whenever I was like new to this, so I did a few podcasts here and there. But I hadn't written very many books. Actually, I think I only wrote 2 books. And I wrote my Dogman book, and I've always been such a fan of Ken. Even now, whenever we're going to a place, and if he's going to be speaking, I'm like a little fangirl because I really respect him as a human being. And I emailed him, and I said, hey, you don't know who I am, but if I send you a manuscript that I'm working on, would you, write a foreword to it? And he said, sure, send it along. And, he responded to this guy out of nowhere, and he wrote the foreword for my On Dogman book. And that's what I was talking about at the very beginning of the program. There are good people out here, right? So often it's the people that are, like looking for demons or being, adversarial, those kind of people with all the machismo. Those people sometimes get all the headlines, right? But the people that are doing actual honest to goodness research sometimes don't get the credit that they deserve. But I will tell you that Ken is actually a fantastic human being, and Ann is a fantastic human being. And I'm very happy that I have them in my life.
Oh,
like
this
this
you
fun
guys
with both of
family, man. I love you all,
Yep.
truly.
And we love you guys for sure. You guys, like I tell people, my best friends, I've met my best friends doing this, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
You
Oh yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's kind of a weird vibe because it's so different. Now I've got friends that I know. It's weird with me because a lot of my friends, my college friends, I went to college. I don't hang out or talk to any of them. But my high school friends, there's about 2 or 3 that I still hang out with and talk to, and of course, family, right? But it's different. It's just different. It's a different vibe with them than with you guys and the people that I have met over the last 8, 9
Yeah.
years. Because
Oh yeah.
my paranormal friends are like my best of friends. I
Yeah.
can tell them anything and not be embarrassed or ridiculed.
Right.
Not that my best friend that doesn't believe me or what I do doesn't love
Right.
me. You just can't talk about that stuff, right?
We
Right.
can let our hair
It was
down with
so
each other.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's almost bittersweet what happened to me with my first encounter with the Bigfoot, which everyone knows that story. But it put me on this path of finding the greatest people in the world. No matter if you are into the paranormal, the cryptids, ufology. Again, like we talked at the very beginning of the show, Ron, it's all related and connected.
Mhm.
Most of us think that way. There's other people that are still staunch and stout in their ways, right? And we talked about that too.
Yeah.
But the people I'm with, we're all like-minded individuals.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's a blessing. That's for sure.
It is a blessing because it's hard in any walk of life to find people that you're connected to. It's hard, and we're that to find really genuine people is truly a difficult thing. But I am quite aware that I found at least 6 really good friends of mine are from this field.
Yep.
Yep.
Me too.
Oh yeah,
Me too.
I've found a lot of great friends. They're all perfect, and in this.
Well,
Any,
thank
in
you.
any
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Oh yes, I was throwing everything at Chris. Chris is becoming one of my very best friends. We're a chick. She's like my number one fan and friend. Hey, but I must tell you, since you're both on the show, Ron and Ann, you both really are experienced, or maybe experienced a bad word, or not the right word, but are familiar with the Fae. What can you guys elaborate on? Because everybody loves the Fae. I just started learning about the Fae when I met Ann a couple years ago, right, in Alabama, and Ann was on this show. We talked the Fae. Then Monica joined our group. She's a big Fae person, and I know Ron, we've spoken on it. So collectively, for the audience, I think the Fae has a lot to do with all of these things and the elementals. Bigfoot, I think, it could be a part of the Fae himself. What you guys collectively together, Ron and Ann, what do you think about all that?
Ron, please.
Well, I said before, if I believe that our planet Earth is a living organism, right? You call it Mother Earth, and we moved so far away from that we kind of forgot how perfect this planet actually is if we don't destroy it. And if this Earth is alive, the whole Gaia theory, if this is a living being, then I guess fairies are kind of the firstborn children of that being, right? It's the intelligences by which is manifested within the earth itself. And this is where, this is the same energy that shamans tapped into. This is the same type of energy that was in early religious experiences. It's that kind of mystical woo, for lack of a better word, that is part of the world itself. And I do believe that Bigfoot is part of the fairy realm as well. I think what happens is we are so removed from the natural frequencies of this world that everything seems to be in disharmony, right? But we are made to be in tune with the world around us, right? That everlasting tuning fork that was first struck at the beginning of creation, however you want to say, we came into being. That's still resonating right now. But now we drown it out by television and radio, and we put walls up to separate ourselves from the world in which we belong. So all that being said, whatever occurs outside of our window or outside of our front door, if we don't understand it, we look at it as something that's paranormal, right? When in fact it is very normal. We just forgot about how normal it is.
I agree with that. And it goes right into everything that I always say when I say that we've come into the great forgetting.
I love that. Yes, yes.
I mean, there's stories about something called like the domovoi. So these are house spirits, and they are, connected with the fae, and they are something that is very helpful to certain families, and they can actually go, down the family line. And, we've become disconnected from all of that. Imagine if we were connected. Imagine the symbiotic relationship, the harmony that we would experience, not just within our home, but without it. So I think that they come into our lives at times. And I mean, I know that there's all kinds of ideas about them being mischievous and certain rules and everything. But what if some of the times they're mischievous because they're trying to bring us back to remembering?
Right.
So. Yeah, I love that. Or they're simply reacting to the energy that you're putting off, right? Yes. They're being negative because we are being negative. And that is true. So, a lot of this sounds like it's, very new age jargon and stuff like that. But really, whenever she talks about that, the great forgetting, the archaeological record shows that there was a lot more out there than we could even ever comprehend. We thought that the pyramids and we thought that Stonehenge was the end all and be all, but thousands of years before that, we have Göbekli Tepe, put together, which was a huge ceremonial site with great works of art and monoliths put up and everything. But that was just discovered, and we didn't think that was humanly possible. So we have forgotten about so many. We forgot about ourselves, let alone what may have inhabited the world around us.
Yeah. There's a question here on the Fae real quick, and maybe you guys can answer it. Half Insurance Crew asked, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the Fae move stuff around when you're not looking right. Pretty sure the neighbor has one over there.
C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, he claims that whenever he was younger, he stayed in a house that was haunted by ghosts and inhabited by fairies. And he said fairies were far worse. So whatever you said about everything being connected, well, say that you're a ghost hunter, right? Then you would say that there's poltergeist activity. But if you keep your eyes open, it could be fae that's doing it as well, too. Right. So all this stuff is very much intertwined. And that's, again, why I said para-unity is a must if we're ever going to figure any of this stuff out.
Absolutely.
So let me ask. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying I love the way you put that. I completely agree.
Agreed. I got to ask you guys this. I've told this story a couple of times. I'm not going to tell it again, but I just need to know what your thought is. I did a story about some guy that got lost in a very familiar place. He was hunting and fishing in this campsite, not a researcher, just an everyday camper hiker. 20 years, same forest, same familiar grounds, got lost, went down a path, an obscure trail that he'd never seen before. So he was very intrigued, and he went down the path, and he's walking amongst his path. Then all of a sudden, as he's walking down the trail, everything became unfamiliar. The trees even weren't the redwoods. They were birch or oak. Everything changed. Even the fauna changed. Everything changed, and he got scared and lost. Long story short, he sat on a stump, and he's scared. I cannot believe this 20 years. And all of a sudden, he started looking toward the tree line, and he's looking at the trees, at the bases of these unfamiliar trees. And he says, I'll be darn Rob if these trees didn't start forming faces from the trees. And at first he was terrified, and he thinks he's dreaming. But then something told him to follow the faces in the trees. So this guy's following down this trail and follows all these different trees, and every other tree would light up with a face. He would continue to follow. until finally he starts walking on more familiar grounds. The faces faded away. Then he got back to where he was. He says, Rob, what? And then he asked me the question. This is an email I got some time ago. What was that? And my first thought was maybe he slipped into a portal, a dimension. When I got this story, guys, a couple of years ago, and I wasn't really familiar with the Fae or elementals as much as I am today. So my first reaction was it was a time slip, a portal, whatever. But now, as the years have gone by and I've talked to many more people, I'm thinking that maybe he got lost in a dimension, but I think that maybe it was the Fae or the elemental world that got him out of where he was.
Yeah, I would absolutely buy that. Absolutely. I think that there are worlds on top of worlds.
Okay.
And every now and then they intersect to the point that we can navigate into one or out of one into another one. And I think that's a rarity. I think sometimes it even goes by, the time of the year, midsummer, the solstices, that certain types of natural energies are in flux or in cycle that allows these that it provides the key to open up these doors into other worlds. And sometimes I think the land itself can be that as well, or a person, a person's energy or outlook can be the key that can open up a lot of different worlds as well. But I have no problem thinking that a person taking a walk out in the woods could not somehow step into a world that is, intertwined in our world. It's simply invisible.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So the first thing that I came across or thought of when you were talking about that is that psychologically speaking, okay, so we can have what is called dissociative episodes. And during these episodes, when cortisol is really hitting I think it's the hypothalamus and possibly amygdala, I forget, I think so. And when this is happening, our memory is really affected and the things that we're experiencing can become affected. Now, I'm not saying that I think that it was just solely a psychological event, but what if there's an extra layer on it where there is something that can affect that to show us something that we can't normally see? So by affecting us in this way, that temporarily opens our eyes to this other thing. I mean, I don't know. This is just something that kind of,
No, I think so. So this is the reason why I am so enamored by Anne, and the reason why we get along so well is because I think what she said so eloquently is the summation of what we call the paranormal, right? We talked about this earlier, that it is a process by which we look at the world, by the way we by the way we figure out what's going on out there, by having other things, within the world able to interject itself into our mind, into our energy, and make us see things that aren't there, is part of psychology. It's part of mainstream psychology, in that what she's saying is absolutely true. It's just that, is it possible that there are entities in this world that can interact with that psychology?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, well,
I love it. I think it works out beautifully. And sometimes we will go to conferences and we'll do a talk because it makes little sense to me if these things are flesh and blood, right? Why I'm researching is I've had anecdotal things happen to me, but I'm also searching because this seems to be something that's cultural, right? It happens all around the world. So whether these things are flesh and blood really doesn't make a difference to me. What is impacting me so much is this is a human experience that people are having from all walks of life, all creeds and cultures. And I want to get to the bottom of that. And the further you dig into this, the far more cumbersome it becomes. It becomes much more dense and you step in some sort of mire, and it's hard to get out of that.
You know, I love that the way you put that, because I am so sick and tired of the flesh and blood versus paranormal debate.
Woo.
The woo, if you will, correct. I'm just really kind of sick of that debate, because I think most of the things we talk about are both anyways. I mean, depending on the circumstance, depending on the experience, it could be all of these things. So I'm not on one side of the coin or the other. I'm not in the apers camp, but I'm not in the total full-blown woo camp either. I think there's a blend. There has to be, because like we said at the beginning of the show, this is all related in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, and this is one of the things that I love working with Ron so much on, because to try to figure out how to build that bridge, that is my main, you know, thing that I would love to learn how to do, is to, because it is all connected, and there isn't a reason for there to be any fighting at all. Because if we were able to, you know, lay down our swords and collaborate, and then to see the puzzle pieces that actually do fit together, because we're all holding different puzzle pieces. The puzzle's not going to be built if we don't come together.
Right.
Oh,
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I do too.
And really quickly, thanks to Josh Castro. He's been a pirate for 14 months. Keith, Sir Brian, Rags, Christina, a few others in here. Pancho has a question. Bigfoot Michiganrob, are there any hauntings at the Shiloh battlefield? That I don't know. Half-Inch Wrench Crew, 2 shadows for your awesome super chats. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Before we cut us loose, Ron, what you got going on, brother? Where can we find you? I got your links posted in the show for everybody. But what else? Can you elaborate?
I will be in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, this Saturday, doing the Fearsome Folklore Conference, which I am looking forward to. Although Ann will tell us where she will be, and I feel horrible that I won't be there for that. And then after that, I will be I'll be in West Virginia for the Flatwood Monster. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, Crossing Realms.
Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, our paths are not crossing this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to be in Pennsylvania at the Bigfoot campout at Benner's Run. So
an hour from me.
I know.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, really?
Yeah.
An hour.
We're scheduled to go to it too, but sadly, you are not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things happen, and I feel horrible. I could kick myself. So.
Oh well, I didn't know that I was going to be able to go either. This is also last minute for Ken and I. So.
Well, I'm still praying for a miracle that you come to this conference. I'm still praying for a miracle.
You know what? We got another visitor. We got another visitor that just happened to mosey on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I hadn't seen either one of you in a coon's age, so I wanted to come say hello.
There you go. That's awesome.
Oh, so fun.
Very cool. Yeah. And where are you going to be?
Just
the camp out, but where else?
Well, Ken has several conferences that he's going to be going to down in Kentucky. So I'm going to be, at the homestead, taking care of the little ones.
I hear you. Hear you. You'll have to stay in touch with me, though, and let me know when you're in, like, the Kentucky, Tennessee area again, because, we can come over and hang out.
That would be amazing. I would love that.
Yep.
I miss all of you.
Yeah, we miss you too. And I'm glad I at least did get to hang out, see you a little bit this year at the
I guess I got to wait again to meet Ann.
Oh, soon enough. Soon. Yeah. It will happen again.
It will. Yeah. It will.
And really briefly, today's Tuesday. Texas is going to be on in about a half hour, everybody. So jump out the porch after this ends. But Krista, Thursday, what you got? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, what do you got happening on Thursday? Anything?
We're going to talk, actually, Tex, if you want to come on, you can come on too. We're talking about your Dogman Ranch with Carlson.
I would love to, but I will be at work.
That's right, you will be. Darn work gets in the way of everything.
I know it.
Tex is never on with the cool kids because he's working all the time.
Yeah.
We're actually discussing something pretty cool tonight.
Okay.
With the that video that I put out here recently, Ranger sent me a TikTok video, and it inspired this and this episode coming up and everything. But there was a study done on dogs, and this was, I guess, back in the early 90s because they were using beepers to do this. But it was, you know how when you come home, your dog's always waiting for you at the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what they did was they put cameras in the houses and gave the owners beepers and had them go at least 5 miles away.
Ooh.
And they would beep them at random times to come home. Now, when the owner made the decision to come home, the dog got up and went to the door. Not when they pulled up, but when they made the decision to come home.
Wow. So a dog is like, your dog is connected mentally with you.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And not only that, they would beep them and tell them like to turn around and go back or make a stop or whatever. And if they did that, and once the owner made the decision to turn around and go back, the dog would go back and lay down.
Oh wow.
And then when they when they made the decision to go back to continue to go home, the dog would get up and go to the door.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this sometime because this is actually called morphic resonance, and it was first proposed by Rupert Sheldrake is his name, a British guy, and I think it's awesome. I think it's great, and it fits into all this kind of stuff too. We talk about a collective unconscious, we talk about Akashic records and things like that. This all fits into that. So that's another show, my friends.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, of course, the way my mind works, that I said, well, what if, because we all talk about being marked, right?
Yeah.
You've heard the term marked by a Bigfoot, marked by a
Sure.
dogman, whatever. It followed me home. It did this, it did that. They know when I'm in my research area, that type of thing. What if this is the same connection?
Very interesting. Yeah.
Because even humans do this to a certain extent. Because if you think about it, how many times have you been thinking about somebody and the phone rings?
That's
Yeah.
true.
Or you have a text go off from that person you're thinking about.
Mhm.
So, or you get a funny feeling that something's wrong with somebody, and you call them and say, "What's up?" And something's wrong.
That's true. Very
Thank you,
true.
Charles.
Matey.
Welcome, Charles.
Charles.
It even ramps up when you start talking about the twin connection.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's reports of twins actually feeling physical pain of the other twin when they're not in nowhere around.
Yeah.
So it got me to thinking, if these critters can make it that kind of bond or that kind of connection with you,
Mm-hmm.
no wonder they know what our intentions are. What
Sure.
they know we're there before we put our boots on the ground, out step out of the truck, that type of thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Well, that'll be pretty cool.
Interesting topic for sure. Yeah.
So everybody check that out. This starting at 11 the East, 10 Central, a little bit after this show ends. And again, this was a great show, Ron. Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
Again, a wealth of knowledge. And of course, Ann, thanks for popping in to pay your buddy a visit, a surprise.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love you guys.
That was cool.
I love you.
And,
It's so good to see y'all. I haven't seen y'all in forever.
Tex,
I'm
I know
I'm
it's
here
been a
to
while. You haven't seen anybody.
No, I haven't even seen Tex in forever. It's nice to be on the show with you again.
I haven't
Tex.
seen Texas forever either. I mean, I watched Texas Front Porch, but it's like
Right.
usually the rerun.
Yeah. Yep.
Lately, anyway, it's been for me because I've had whatever going on, but it is what it is. Run over to Tex, subscribe to Tex, subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze. Good old Bigfoot Michigan Rob if you're new. Texas Front Porch, I said. Paranormal Paul. Donnie Cho says stuff. Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, and Truth or Tinfoil. That's all us misfits. Go buy Ron's books. And you got books too. You got 2 books that I know of.
Yes.
I'm working on it.
Look up Ann Celine. Check her out. You have an email or so, or you have give me your link. I'll put it in this room for you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it's just AnnCeline.com.
Well, how easy is that? Everybody?
Look at that.
Easy peasy.
What was that again?
Anceline.com.
Okay.
And how do we spell that? I'm kidding.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for popping on in, and Tex. Good to see you as always.
Yep.
Everybody hit that like button on your way out. See y'all at the conference. The conference is posted in the link of this up top. Get your tickets today.
Yes.
See you later.
Love you, and we'll see ya.
Thanks,
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.